Hello and welcome to the League of Extraordinary Atheists for Humanism, where we attempt to apply logic and reason to religion and politics. I'm here with my wonderful, beautiful co-host, sporting a Elton John t-shirt, Christy Santiago.
Hi guys, happy Friday, and yes, it is an Elton John t-shirt. He's doing, actually it just finished, his farewell Yellow Brick Road tour. He is done retiring, so I didn't get to go to this one, but Stacy did, and she did bring me this t-shirt, and it has the tour dates on the, I love it. I love it so much. However, I am going to a concert tomorrow night. I love R&B. I love R&B soul. I mean, MJB is my favorite female singer, and not that I'm going to see her, I have, but tomorrow night, Joe is opening, and then it will be Anthony Hamilton, which you had me at Anthony Hamilton, and then Maxwell is the headliner, so that will be cool. With all the horrible news this week, it will be nice to not think about it for a minute, you know?
Very much so.
Yeah. And you'll have to, I would say glowing, but no, I'm just sweating. I'm schwitzing. It's you know, I live in the tropics.
She's glistening.
Yes, that's what's happening. It's a tropical glow.
Yeah, and I'm just tan. I don't have sun.
Yeah, you're pinkish, man. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mary.
I heard, Little Birdie, that you have an announcement.
Oh yes, I do. So first thing first, I want to announce this at the top of the show and at the bottom of the show, whichever one is which. Yeah, I'm gonna post a link very quickly here down in the chat, and it's already in the description box, so please check it out either way. Saint Brian Godless on Twitter. He's been a friend of mine since I think like the day I got Twitter. Like he's like maybe the third person I followed. He's always been active. He's really cool. And it sounds like him and his family has hit quite the bump in the road. So please check out his GoFundMe. Just to kind of give you a short, because he kind of goes into it in detail, and he's feeling real bad because when you're in this predicament, it really tears at your self-worth. But they have two kids who have special needs. His wife's disabled. I think we all understand hard times, and this is a big part of why we started this group, is to find people in our wider group, in this bag of cats that we call atheists under a label, right? Because we don't agree on much, but
we have a couple, actually, we have a couple theists and a believer that comes to our chat as well.
Yeah.
It's about humanism. It's just Mac and I happen to, you know, eat babies and all that, so.
Drink blood and stuff, yeah.
I'm just kidding.
All that jazz. Yeah. And
we believe in magical things, but we have less to go.
Yeah, and I mean, what our handle and our email is atheism for humanism, right? That's the point.
That's us, and what we're for, all in a nutshell.
Yeah. So, you know, good without God, or good whether or not there is a God, right? So, absolutely. By the way, let's be good.
Just be good. We're good at it.
Just be good. We're good at it. Yeah, but yeah, they need a vehicle repair, and it's really important that they have this vehicle repair, because that's how their family gets everywhere. They own this vehicle, but they only own the one. It's about $3,000 worth of repairs, and let me refresh. They're just 1,000 short of their goal. They've gotten about 4 more donations since I made mine just before the show. I donated $15. They caveat at the very end of their story, anything helps. Nothing, absolutely nothing is too small. So I mean, if you guys have $1 or $2 or $3, that's what we ask for from our Patreons is $1, $3, $5, because it's true. It does add up. Like every little bit helps, and we'd really appreciate you clicking the link, or if you can't donate, click on the link anyways and just share it. That helps too. All right. I'll announce this again at the end of the show. But I just wanted to get that at the beginning for everyone who made it in the first place. Thanks, everyone.
Aw, lovely, lovely humans. I have a bit of a topic that does, I mean, you guys know how I feel about privatizing things that, you know, shouldn't be privatized. Healthcare, education, prisons, military, war, you know, human rights are guaranteed to go down. I thought this would be a fun, you know, not fun, just fairly simple story to cover, and it really wasn't. I had really random dreams last night. The woman who just got the reprieve from being killed that we covered 2 weeks ago, she was on death row.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah, she was in the dream at one point. You know, it's hard to remember all of it now, but there were quite a few of them. I woke up to go to the bathroom, and when I had dreams again, they were also in prisons, or prison was a part of it. And it was always fighting for something that was so unjust, whether it was someone else or random dreams. I went on a journey.
No, I don't want to stop you too long, but I do need to remind you, rule number 34 for us was you don't talk about your true dreams on the show.
Yes, that is a clause.
All right, go on.
Okay. I did want to just, not that I'm going to be covering it tonight, I think that it should be looked at if you guys are as interested as I am. Google Kids for Cash / private prisons and give that a go. It's fucking disturbing. Okay, it's juvenile detention centers that are for profit, and it's another little fact. There's going to be a couple of these besides the story. We have more Black Americans, African Americans, in this nation under criminal supervision right now. That's in prisons and jails, home confinement, those more right now, today in 2022, than all of the slaves in total in 1850. Just a little. Black Americans are 5 times more likely to be locked up than their white brothers and sisters. Black Americans make up 12 to 13% of the United States population. That's in whole, the whole thing. 13%, we'll just go with that. They make up 38% of our prison populations. So wrap your head around that one. Now, President Biden signed the executive order in 2021, banning all private prison contracts by the federal government. And that would just mean that the contracts that are going will still finish. There will be no new ones, and when those are up, they will not be resigned. It was a first step to stop corporations from profiting off of incarcerating our brothers and sisters, our fellow Americans. But these corporations have found ways of continuing to profit off of private prisons in the system. It is a multi-billion-dollar industry every year. You know, they're not going to let go of that if they have any say in it whatsoever.
Yeah,
no, they're not. And like I said, this is going to go into their new grifts, the things that they're, because that is coming to an end unless we get a different president in, and yeah, maybe they're holding on to that. For all my fellow potheads out there, My lips are starting to stick to my tape, and I feel like Fire Marshal Bill. So I needed to wet my whistle. All right.
You're okay.
Okay, these corporations, like I said, they found new grifts. The Trump administration surpassed the Obama administration in migrant arrest, and Obama was known as the deporter-in-chief. These migrant arrests, the majority of these migrants arrested end up in a for-profit prison, aka detention facility, all of whom are run by private corporations. A little memory lane fact, private prisons were a way to save the taxpayers. That's how they were sold to us. The war on drugs created overpopulation. By far, people were, having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different bunk beds when it was a three max. It's supposed to be a 2 prisoner cell, but 3, I could see 3 bunk beds if it was an emergency. But this is why like COVID swept through these prisons, because they're still overcrowded. But back in the day, it was, we're spending a lot of taxpayer money on prisons. That's how it was sold to us. They're very expensive. They're overcrowded. The private industry is going to take this one for us. They're going to do it faster. They're going to do it cheaper. And how anyone bought that, because yes, it might be a private corporation that is running a private prison, a for-profit prison. Where do you think the money comes from? It's government contracts that is paid for by tax dollars. It didn't save us shit. They just lied through their teeth. They secure these government contracts and make our governments, whether it's state governments or federal for these migrant detention centers, they make them sign these contracts that their beds will stay 99% full. Now, if they fall under 99%, they're still guaranteed to be paid for 99% of their beds being full. Now, some prisons charge $30,000 to $40,000 per inmate per year, and others all the way up to $70,000 and $80,000 per inmate per year. These inmates, I'd say the majority of these inmates have never even made $70,000 in a year, let alone $50,000 or $40,000 in a year. It's just a grift. This very lucrative industry has been shifting and grifting and diversifying into what's being called mass incarceration 2.0. In Los Angeles County, for example, the use of electronic devices have increased 5,000%. I checked it and double checked it. That is a fact for Los Angeles County, and it might not be 5,000% in every county, but it has gone up exponentially across the entire country. Another memory lane fact, 1974, Richard Nixon started the war on drugs that I mentioned. The mass incarceration was on. When these prisons became overcrowded, like I had mentioned, private industry promised to do it better and cheaper. You can imagine all of the cut corners a private prison will do to achieve their bottom line. Healthcare, food, guards on duty, the amount of guards on duty, the amount of training they went through, how much they're paid each hour. They don't get health benefits. These aren't government prisons. These are private prisons. A complete failure as of 2022, only 40 years of for-profit prisons for us to realize, or for the nation as a whole to realize. I think a lot of us independent thinkers were just ashamed that this was even a thing. It didn't take that long either before these for-profit private prisons started to have massive problems. Like I said, you can imagine. Questions about the wisdom of turning public prisons over to private operators began showing up on primetime news. It became very apparent profits were being prioritized over the care of those humans that were in their care. With underpaid private prison guards who do not receive, like I said, any benefits, working long hours because they're understaffed, it just went to shit. There's no, whether you have violent prisoners or non-violent prisoners, you still have to be properly funded. You have to have the right amount of guards. They have to be trained to de-escalate. The background checks that are done for our federal government's prisons or our, state-funded prisons is, I wouldn't say it's everything. They don't check the whole world. They check this country. And maybe there are, I shouldn't do blanket statement. It's been known not to happen where they check Interpol, So, however, private prisons may only check the state they're in. So if they raped other people or were a prison guard in another state or got kicked out of the military for doing something horrific like raping or murdering someone with their own hands, I don't think they should be in charge of people who they have significant amounts of power over, ever. These private prisons also struggle to keep employees. The turnover rate is exponentially high. For private prisons, there are two ways to make profits, just like there is with any, Fortune 500 corporation. One, increase revenue, and two, decrease expenses. For private prisons, increasing revenue is adding more bodies to their prison, and decreasing expenses means lower care all around. In 2021, Biden, like I said, promised prison reform and did sign the executive order stopping all contracts with private prisons. Just 6 days into his presidency, credit where credit is due, the bar is so low. Biden said that he was pulling America out of the private prison business. However, the for-profit private prison industry has been finding other ways to make a profit. And they've been doing this for decades. The GEO Group, we're all familiar with the GEO Group. Hold on. Hit stop again. That's what I get.
That's fine. No, so before you continue, and while you're wetting your whistle,
a whistle is.
I know that in the prison system, one of the ways that they make money is through how they make phone calls.
Yeah, I have that in here. They have many ways.
I figured
it's cornered the market. They've set up the industry that does it, so it's all their profits.
Yeah.
Given the contracts to their buddies to do it. The e-cigarettes that went into local jails all over the nation, not everywhere. Some people have said no. Some places have said no. But many of them had said yeah, because it's instant profit. They have to buy it with their commissary.
Yeah, and I think part of their justification for doing that, making it so expensive for the families that have to pay more for them to get a snack or a phone call is, well, you did this to your family as part of your punishment, showing how it's how your crime hurts the people around you. I think I've heard that excuse before. You can correct me if you know if I'm wrong or not, but it's.
I mean, the police will say things like that to you. The guards will say horrible things to prisoners.
Yeah, but that it can be used as a justification to make money is pretty gross.
Yeah, it is really bad. It's disgusting. This is just, the tip of the iceberg, like that old cliche, but it is just the very tip of what I'm talking about. It goes, It's very seedy. It's got a very dark underbelly. There are guards who are doing prison time right now and others that are waiting to go to court who have paid inmates to fight. And they don't have a choice. It's not like they can say, oh, no, you're fighting this person. And they're locked up in a room, they can't get out, and they fight until one person can't get up. And these guards set it up. And this isn't a blanket statement. Not all prisons are like this. However, it happens in these places where these guards are not adequately trained or vetted. They're bad people, very bad people. The raping and the abuse happens from the guards in a lot of these places. And like I said, not all, but a lot. And there is, it's unacceptable, 100%. Just because you've lost your freedom, that is your penance. That is what we as a society has said you have to do for these things that you got in trouble for. You do not lose your human rights. You lose your freedom, not your human rights. Your human rights are never lost, in theory. Abortion rights, in theory. The GEO group, like I said, the private prison, Moshannon Valley Correctional Facility is its official name, was shut down as a private prison for human rights abuse. Though it did not sit empty long, the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement steps in. These private prison facilities are flipping the industry, making their once private for-profit prisons into immigration detention centers that are still for-profit, that are still being paid by government contracts, that are still being paid by taxpayer money. In the 1980s and the 1990s, we saw the war on drugs. Now we are changing the laws across the nation when it comes to marijuana laws. So these now empty beds that are beginning to show up across the country and places that are finally stepping out of the dark ages are being filled with immigrants. Here's a percentage for you. 80% of undocumented immigrants are being held inside privately run for-profit detention centers, generating over $2 billion for just the two biggest companies in 2020 alone. $2 billion in 1 year for two companies that run private prisons holding migrants. The Trump administration increased immigrant detention by 50% in just 4 years, with the majority, if not all of these contracts going to private corporations that are for-profit. Trump handed out sweetheart deals, aka these government contracts, to these private for-profit prison corporations. There is a huge financial incentive not to reduce incarceration, but instead to just change the private prisons populations within. From American citizens on drug charges that are nonviolent, who shouldn't even be in there, to immigrants. We're all the same horrors still await the immigrants, locked up like prisoners, and the prison now just called something different. Horrors include abuse of solitary confinement for migrants, medical neglect, unconsented surgeries, removing women's wombs so they cannot procreate against their will, rape, and slave labor, just to name a few. In Irwin County Detention Center in Georgia, female immigrants accused the prison's doctor, GYN, OBGYN, and surgeon of carrying out surgeries without consent. These women woke from surgery to find that they had been given hysterectomies against their will or been sterilized against their will. This private prison was shut down for this atrocious human rights abuse under the Biden administration. This happened under not Biden, and that president did not shut them down, didn't even want to talk about it. Private prisons have brought so much tragedy and unnecessary sickness, illnesses, and deaths and abuse to so many people in our country in modern times. Time and time again, the private prison corporations prove through their actions and inactions they really only care about their bottom line, more profits from the U.S. government, please. So many human rights abuses have been documented, so many heartbreaks, so many family separations, and more brutal human rights abuse and tragedies. There are so many, I couldn't read 1%. There are thousands. These are the results of their bottom line thinking when it comes to taking care of humans who have human rights. Expanding immigration services is a whole new revenue stream for these immoral corporations. But there are other new revenue streams, new grifts for these for-profit prisons. These grifts, man, private interests have permeated our correctional system across the nation. There are lobbyists for private prison that rent and buy houses around the places where they need to be lobbying. They just dig their feet in. They know this is a career.
Yeah, you can make a living out of it.
Yes, you can.
And I just wanted to point out the obvious, because I mean, what else am I good for? But when you were pointing out all the sweetheart deals that like Trump gave some of the private prisons when he was sending immigrants there, this is something pretty common, especially with the conservative side of the aisle, with the Republicans, and it is because, as they say, they like the free market, right? And they want prisons to be run privately because they believe that they function better, they do their job better, whatever the goal of a prison is. But also just for the sake of they don't want the state to have, they want the state to have as little power as possibly can because they don't like the state, right?
They don't want big government.
Their hands in there, yeah. But there's certain things, as we talk about on the show a lot, there's certain things that shouldn't be on the market. Like healthcare, it shouldn't be a for-profit market. Prison system shouldn't be like on a market, and neither should education. All of those things are non-monetary programs that we need to get, you could say, reimbursed for, or we need to see, like we need to invest in them, and we need to see a return on that investment. I agree with that, but this shouldn't be monetary.
Right, it should be rehabilitation, not just lockup.
For a prison system, yeah. It
that would be a return. We'd be getting a return. Mm-hmm.
For schools and
their education would be a return.
Colleges, this should be education, yeah. And for healthcare, it should be sometimes rehabilitation or just healing, health.
People, preventative medicine and healthcare. Yeah.
It's not rocket science, but I did want to tie it into the other issues that we talk about, because this is one of the big ones that should not be profitable at all. Like you should be willing to run a deficit on things that you're not looking to make a profit on, and this is one of the things you morally shouldn't be looking for a profit on. It's against ethics.
100% agree. It's immoral. I think that it is not subjectively immoral. It's objectively immoral. And I'm going to die on the hill. It's a fine hill to die on.
Why don't you just do what the lobbyists do and set up a house nearby where you can talk about it and live on the hill. Need you around, Christy. Don't die on the hill. Not necessary right now.
I'm gonna fall, start rolling, hit my head on a tree.
All right, sorry, go on.
Don't drop the joint.
You're doing. I dropped the joint.
Okay. Like I said, the private interests of these for-profit prison corporations have permeated our entire correctional system across the nation. From food services, which you had mentioned, they've been able to kind of, like I said, corner the market. They've have a subsidiary from their corporation who now has bought this place that was making the food or started their own, or it's their buddy's business. They keep it within. And so if they're making the food now, they can control a lot of things like what they spend, if it's even fresh or healthy, does it pass just what it needs to, or do they actually add a couple slices of fruit and stuff to it? Like they control that, and it's all the food comes in these bags, a big plastic bag. They cut the bag open, dump it in a pot, and that's the meal. You know, they save a lot of money like that. A lot of prisons and jail do a lot of meals like this. But like I said, from food services to prepaid phone cards, now that is a whole other one. They're so expensive. Just calling within the same zip code, the same area code, is the same as calling across the world. It's so expensive for the prisoners, and most of them, hell, all of them in there don't have a job. Whether they had money or family giving them money, it's not like they have unlimited resources. I'm not saying there aren't drug lords in there and people that are wealthy. Of course there are. But for the most part, you know, they get $20 a month, $30 a month from their family. Phone cards are expensive, and that's just another way. Prison health care. They hire who they want within. These companies have monetized every single aspect of their private prison industry. Private prison's newest grift is the electronic services. Like I said, they went up in Los Angeles County 5,000%. An example, you guys, Mohawk Johnson, you probably remember his name. He is awaiting trial for alleged battery at a Black Lives Matter protest. He's been on house arrest with electronic monitoring for 2 years, over 2 years. He's got a beacon in that corner and a beacon in this corner, even though he told them that they would mess each other up, that the other one needs to be in another room. Like he isn't alone. He just is a bigger name that you would be able to check the story out for yourself, Mohawk Johnson. They do play off each other. He actually set up video cameras in his room to be recorded 24 hours a day so that he can prove that he's at home when he is woke up every hour of the night, every single night, when not only his phone rings, but his ankle monitor starts vibrating and an alarm goes off and it's ringing. It's just, you know, no, I'm in my bed. You woke me up over and over again. And this is just one person. Mohawk Johnson, he does have the ankle monitor. Like I told you, he's woke up all the time. He hasn't left his apartment when he's called. The only time that he's called when he's out of his apartment is when he is at his job. And now you can imagine, you're not supposed to get personal phone calls at your job. You can imagine being at your job and your ankle is alarming and vibrating and ringing, and they can call through your ankle monitor. So their voice is coming up, hey, what are you doing, Mohawk Johnson? Where are you? At work. He's like, I'm at work. I'm at work right now. It's just, you know, good thing he has bosses that, there's a lot of bosses that wouldn't even want that in their restaurant, their store, their wherever. It looks bad. His ankle monitor even goes off that he just moved, so he got a new job. He has to tell them it's going to go off. It's not you, it's this monitor. I've heard many of these people who are, I don't want to say prisoners, people who are going through this electronic monitoring are having difficulties. They want to move, or their lease is up and they have to move, and are getting picked up for a violation of their probation, even though they submitted all their papers. Had the sheriff come and put the beaker up, because at 1 o'clock in the morning, whoever comes onto the shift logs onto the computer and sees you're at a new location without looking for anything. It's a shit show for a lot of people. The issues Mohawk endures with his ankle monitor has kept him in a constant state of anxiety, and I've heard this or read this from many others going through this. Mohawk Johnson states, quote, "It's gotten to where when my phone even rings now, I get scared, I have anxiety, and I think I'm in trouble," end quote. These private prison companies are expanding their boundaries of incarceration. Some people are incarcerated in their homes, some in private prison locations or detention centers. And these companies do not just collect money from our government through these contracts. They also are charging the person wearing the ankle monitor, the people who are on house arrest, for their own incarceration. People pay a daily fee to be at home with an ankle monitor. This fee can be anywhere from $5 per day all the way up to $47 per day. Prisoners call these electronic ankle monitors ankle shackles. And you can imagine being a Black person in this country wearing an ankle shackle. It fucks with your mind, fucks with my mind for them.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't mean to spoil part of your story, but
no, you're fine.
This debt, well, it's a debt. It piles up, and if you don't pay it off, you can get sent back to prison. So, if just to reiterate,
if you're
you
late,
are released, you served your sentence, and you are late because of this economy, multiple reasons why you could be late, because you just don't make enough, or people don't want to hire you because now you have a felony record, or you've just been in prison, you've been incarcerated. You will just go back to prison because you can't pay the prison, therefore racking up more debt. And this is just house arrest stuff. This isn't even in prison, because they charge you for being in prison too. So you can go back on house arrest or actually be incarcerated because you can't pay what your ankle bracelet costs you. And this is just another reason why we shouldn't be doing this to nonviolent.
No, the debtors prison bullshit in our Constitution. Our Constitution says it's illegal to have debtors prisons. What is it if someone can't pay, you put them in prison? What is that? So,
yeah, it's circular, and by being circular, it is cruel and unusual.
And that's what Mohawk even says, quote, "It's definitely a shackle. Like, they always frame it as if they're trying to rehabilitate people, but you can't really like trigger someone's PTSD nonstop all day and all night and then say that it is rehabilitation," end quote. I agree with him. I agree with him. And we have never asked these private for-profit prison corporations to even focus on rehabilitation. They just strictly lock people up, and that is it. Our 20th and 21st century experiment with private for-profit prisons in the United States has been a massive failure. Following the US's lead, though, you guys know it's coming. In recent decades, other countries around the world have begun to experiment with their own privatization of prisons as well. Thousands of migrant and refugee children were held for months and even years by the Australian government in their very own refugee detention centers. Dozens of children still live in the moldy tent that is one of their for-profit refugee detention centers. One thing that should concern every single one of us is that the international precedent that the United States set for the rest of the world is important. For-profit private prison industry has spread across the English-speaking world and then some, especially to the United Kingdom, Australia, Canada, and New Zealand. It's really taken off in these countries. But as the United States government finally starts to question these things, we finally have, an end date that we can look at, and the influence of corporations like these private prisons, what happens to other nations, what happens when other nations don't want to question. We finally got to the point where we're starting to question. We have an end date. There will be no more contracts. These contracts will end, and then that will be it. Well, we know they're being used for detention centers. What if we actually do the right thing on this whole topic and Biden's executive order stays? No matter who becomes president next, they're just like, yeah, let's just be done with that. What if all these other democracies don't, and the abuse that's going to happen? And that just breaks my heart all over again. What have we done? Not that I was even old enough to have a say in any of that, but who we vote for matters. When people say voting doesn't matter, if it didn't freaking matter, why would they have voter suppression? Why would they close down polling stations? Why would they Florida just passed a law that we're going to have voter police, polling station police. We haven't had in a century. It's going to be insane. The last time we had police for polling stations was in Jim Crow South, trying to keep the black folk from voting with all kinds of laws and fines and fees and police intimidating them. That's where we're at. How can we make it right to the women who have lost their reproductive rights without their consent in American prisons, trying to escape from the land they came from just to come here to make it better, and we took that away from them? You understand that unconsented removal of a person's organs, whether it is reproductive organs or not, is some evil Nazi shit, right? Removing a woman's womb or sterilizing her without her consent to stop her from making children is some Nazi shit. That's some crazy Nazi scientist, World War II bananas. That's all I got, because when I got to that point, I'm just like, when I read about the things that were done to the people by the German soldiers in World War II, I am appalled. I have that same nauseous, angry vileness when I read what our government allowed to happen at these government-funded, for-profit, private prisons. The grift is up. I'm glad to say, I really hope whoever becomes the next dictator, yeah.
Yup.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
I'm really scared. I'm genuinely, legitimately frightened for the future of the citizens of this nation, particularly the 51% of the female persuasion.
Yeah.
Or any human that has female reproductive organs.
Yeah. Not looking great. Kind of looking grim. All right, guys. That is the first part of our show. We're going to take like a 2-minute break and come right back for another short topic.
Can they stay here, or will they have to?
Oh, yeah. You guys stay right here. We just got to switch our stream over real quick to a different call, and we'll be right back. Thanks,
Hey,
guys.
Jimmy, you better be there.
welcome back to the LEAH show. Sorry about that quick break. But we are back, and I'm still drinking my raspberry ginger beer, and that's really half of what matters. All right. If you didn't see at the top of our show, we do have this GoFundMe we're trying to support tonight. It is from St. Brian on Twitter. So please check it out. He needs to fix his vehicle. He has a disabled wife and 2 kids with special needs. So we're trying to help him out. He has, let me check here, still just about 1,000 left to go. If you read, they overreached for their goal a little bit, and in case the estimate of $3,111 wasn't enough. Their goal is $3,500. But if we can even get them to $3,200, which is another $700, they're already at $2,400, and they've had 60 donations. So
amazing.
Not a whole lot more, I think.
The man's got a lot on his plate.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just wanted to throw a little more attention to that. Also, if you guys don't know, let me double check here real quick. This is cool, fun news just for us. We're at 799 subscribers. So tell your friends to get on in here and subscribe so we can reach 800 before the end of the show. That would be awesome. All right, so our second topic for the night is mostly Twitter. Twitter and free speech. What I want to say about it. Elon Musk, I like his stated ideas for the Twitter platform. Things like maybe making an edit button. Yeah, that could be cool. Most of us have wanted that anyways.
There is that one?
Yeah.
Wait, no, that might be Facebook. Yeah, and Instagram, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, this is the one platform that doesn't have an edit button. So that could be cool, and I don't mind too much either way. He is stating to have more of like a free speech platform where they're going to censor much less than like Facebook and Twitter currently. And I like that because I'm as close as you can get to a free speech. Absolutely.
Wait, doesn't he already own it?
No.
Okay.
No. As far as I know, no. The thing was like it looked like it was in the works and inevitable, but as of this last like 24 hours, one of the shareholders is suing him to try to stop this deal from going through.
Well, a journalist, an independent journalist who does freelance work for TYT, when the TYT investigates, she got banned for Twitter forever today, like forever, forever, because she called someone a dumb bitch. Do you know how many times I've heard people be called a bitch, dumb hoe, dumb, or not heard, but read? Yeah.
Yeah, it's look, this is why, like, so many of us, not even just our community, but just groups that interact with our community. That's why we love it so much, is because we can have really thoughtful discussions, and we can have really full of dumpster fires. Like it was really great a couple of years ago when we could just get in the shittiest of fights and also have the coolest discussions and just have that whole gambit and decide who you want to talk to. Because you know what? There is a block button. You don't have to look at anyone's shit that you don't want to.
Exactly. In life, think about that. Let that be for life. If you don't like abortions, don't have one. If you don't believe in birth control, don't have one. If you think that you should wait till marriage, wait till marriage. If you are gay, you are in love with a man, love a man. Like, I don't, it's, yeah, but I guess that's just the dream world where our freedoms used to live.
Yeah, pretty much. And you just what?
I'm speechless after this week. My daughters are at childbearing ages, but neither of them are ready to make that commitment and on something. So, they're not 100%. Things do happen.
Yeah.
I'm in Florida. We would have to go out of state, and not to the next state or the next state or the next state, but above that.
Yes.
Illinois or Virginia.
Yeah.
South Carolina, Virginia, and Illinois.
Hey, Christy. No offense, but that's what you get for choosing to live in the South.
I know. I was not of age to choose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, it is beautiful there. And you're glistening.
It is. Yeah. I know. And I'm spitting, glistening, sweating. No, I thought about it for a minute about changing the topic, but then I thought I'm not logical on it. I am too emotional on that topic. I know that I am. I know that I'm super biased, and my opinions are formed of 45 years on this planet, in this body, in this mind. And I do not think, unless completely new evidence is found and then peer reviewed and proven, that I will change my mind on it. So I don't know that it's a topic that I should even discuss, because I'm fucking livid. I am, yeah, this week is, phew, buddy.
Yeah.
You guys, the women's march is going to be insane. If there is a local women's march near you, get your people to it, just to show the numbers. On the day after that was released, the Supreme Court was overnight, completely surrounded with high protection fences, because they fucking know. They know it is not acceptable. They know it is not approved of in this country. And the people, by far a majority, 7% of Democrats and 70-something% of Republicans think that it should be safe and legal. So that's why they put the fence up. I think we really need to show up. We cannot sit this one out. I don't care if you have a penis and balls between your legs. You have daughters, you have mother, you have sisters, you have mistresses. I don't care. I don't care. There are 51% of your fellow Americans are females, and we're going to need all of you. This is, yeah, I can't cover this topic at all.
Well, yeah, this is, I assume that we are going to cover it, like, here in the next few weeks or in the next month or so, like, as we get more information. But this did just happen this week. We don't know a lot yet. I knew it would be brought up tonight, but neither of us really came prepared to, like, do a deep dive into it. But I
do want to add the guy who made the opinion that was leaked. He is quoting someone from the 1700s who believed in witches and wanted to burn them at the stake. So, yeah, that's where we're at in 2022. We're going to 1700s, apparently. I'm just, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a handful of problems with it. But, okay, well, I wanted to wrap up near 11:30 tonight. So I did want to go ahead, we'll jump back to the Twitter free speech thing real quick. Just the gist of it, I know we already mostly touched on it, but I wanted to share that we want Twitter, Christy and I, and like Kyle Kalinske and Crystal Ball, we're all of the idea that we want Twitter to be used like it's the new town hall, right? We want it to be kind of like it's protected by the First Amendment. Anything that would already be illegal, you can't do that, right? No doxing, no or doxing, no hate speech, so on and so forth. But on the other side of that, I also wanted to remind everyone that this is a private company, even if it's a public company, right? It's a private corporation, Twitter is. So they can kind of do what they want, like Facebook. I mean, let's just say Facebook wants to do what all the news networks kind of pressure them to do before they demonize them. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but they can. They have more leniency. They can censor more because they have that right as a private company. And I thought that was worth pointing out, especially since it counters what I would want them to do. I would rather than make it as free as possible and use the block button, right? Don't engage with people that you think are too toxic. And I know this divides a lot of our community, but I am absolutely of the opinion, and I hope that people who disagree with me can at least see the principle behind it, is that bad ideas, and we all fucking know this, bad ideas grow in the dark.
They do.
Right? You need sunlight. You need people to point them out. Same thing with like Matt Powell, Brad Cowell.
I've never heard that before. That's funny.
Yeah, that was our old nickname for him. Because we didn't use his name. Pat Powell. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, he's growing whether or not we tell people how bad he is.
Yeah, he is.
Yes, and I mean, because we've stayed away from him, but he grows anyways. He networks anyways. And one
like a tumor.
Like a what?
Like a tumor.
Yeah, but I would like to remind people, one of the greatest things that our collective bag of cats has done is, I forget the name, the guy's name, but people that Brad Cowell are connected to, that Baptist church, we cut their funding off a Patreon because of their hate speech, and we convinced them that their kind of message isn't what you want to be platforming. And to a point, that's not, like, it sounds like I'm contradicting myself, right? Because they're saying, hey, you should deplatform these people if they're being so bad. But we want their content to be around. We want it to be censored or monitored. If there's bad things on it, maybe censor those parts and explain what's in the video below instead of just taking it down, because they're going to grow anyways, and people need to be informed on what's happening around them so they can say, oh, this shit really is still happening. Oh, people really do believe that gays should be executed by the government? That's fucking insane. Wow, I didn't know that was happening. Well, it's because we shut it down, and we should shut it down socially and collectively, but we need to know it's there to do that. And that's one of the greatest things that our community has ever done. I was very proud to be a part of that by just sharing some links and cheering it on. But we can't do that if we censor too hard. because there are just alternative platforms. And when some disinfectant spray doesn't want to go check out the mold over here, then that mold is just going to grow, right? We can't divide. We shouldn't divide completely from bad platforms or bad people on moderate platforms, because they need us. We need one of the best things that you'll ever experience is doublethink. Is, what's the other name for it? I can't remember. Starts with a D. Someone tell me down in the chat. Doublethink. Maybe it doesn't start with a D. It's killing me. I'm so sorry. This is not where I wanted to. I thought I'd just think of it if I kept going. Cognitive dissonance. It's cognitive.
Cognitive, yeah. CD.
Yes. It's really one of the best things you can ever experience. Because when you find two positions, they're like, well, that's true. Well, that's true. Wait. Wait.
Mm-hmm.
They both can't be true.
Right. They're both explaining the same thing, and one is proven and
right. Or maybe neither of them's true.
Yeah, that's a possibility too.
Right? But you have to get rid of one. You've learned something. Even if you didn't learn something true, you learned that one of those things isn't. And that's great. That's part of the human experience. That's part of growing. That's part of learning. That's wonderful. And that's all we skeptics ever want in this world. Right? We want to learn things, or at least cross things off the list. Well, that didn't make any sense.
I not know that this one is true yet, but we know that one isn't. So we'll keep trying to disprove this one until we can, and until we can, this will be the theory with a capital T that we have.
Yes, and you can't get that if you're not informed. We don't have an informed electorate in this country, and censoring social media platforms isn't going to fucking help with that. It ain't going to fucking help with that. I believe that more than most things. You have to see the good, bad, and the ugly to even imagine the best. You'll never get there without all the disinformation along the way, because you have to learn logic. You have to learn how to cross things off on your own. And it sucks that we have a lot of shit to sift through, but that's too bad, right? I mean, we especially can't have the government deciding what's true and what's false, or any government interests, right? And large corporations are too big to trust that they're doing a good job either. So we should just be left to those devices on our own. And those of us, like Christy and I, who listen to other people's ideas all fucking day, we need to do our due diligence to give the best take, tear down what we think is wrong, and make a better argument, right? As part of philosophy, and philosophy is just part of fucking thinking. And we just need to spread good epistemology, and Twitter's a really good place for that when it's very moderately ruled.
Right, moderated.
Moderated, yeah. So that's my spiel. I wanted to get that out. Just so you know, I won't get into it because we do want to go. I said I agree with Elon Musk's vision that he speaks of, but he's also had people fired for speaking against his company, for people pointing out where a Tesla's crashed. If they
He's a grifter.
or if they worked for a news company and they pointed out he's gotten hold of their bosses and they've been let go. He's a
I
shit.
can't stand him. That's my opinion. He's a grifter, and I see right through his false punk ass.
Yeah, he's an absolute hypocrite. But just because he's a piece of shit doesn't mean what he is espousing.
Good ideas and still be a piece of shit. It's been known to happen.
And who says he's actually going to follow through with this free speech thing or whatever?
Not his history.
Come back to
not his track record.
Right. No, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't hold a similar opinion and actually hold true to it. So, anyways, we love you guys so very, very much. Thank you so much. Don't forget to click on the GoFundMe link in the description box and in the chat again. Please check that out. St. Brian's awesome. And I wanted to leave you guys with a quote. Oh, another quote. No, not yet. Don't do it. Don't do it. Okay.
As well. Oh, yeah.
Oh, this. I saw this on Twitter and I told someone I would share it.
Right.
If you're a Christian and you're big mad about the possibility of student loan debt being canceled, let me remind you that the entirety of your faith is built upon a debt that you couldn't pay, that someone else stepped in and paid for you. Yep. I thought that was interesting, food for thought. So take that, think it's fun. We love you guys. Thank you so much. And Christy, close us out.
Happy Friday and stay humanist. Or God listen. Love you guys.